Welcome back to this edition of the Native News Update. I'm your host again for today's program, Paul DeMain. Many of the stories read here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com. Here are the news stories for the day from the Associated Press and other Native American news sources. 4 people have pled guilty in federal court this week for their role in the theft of about $62,000 from the Blackfeet Tribal Credit Department in Montana. Alex Goodrider, 37, who worked for the agency, pled guilty to stealing from and conspiring to defraud a tribal organization. Duran Bear Medicine, 29, Clarice Hall, 52, and Alvin Lazyboy, 47, all pled guilty to the theft from a tribal organization. Hall also worked for the agency. Bonita Plenty Horace previously pled guilty to the theft charge, and charges are pending against 3 other people: Wilma Hoyt, Severt Running Crane, and Bobby Joe Arno. A theft charge was dropped against Chief Holy Starfish earlier. Prosecutors say the defendants stole $62,270 between January and May of 2008 from the credit department, which provides short-term loans of up to $1,500 to qualifying tribal members. The Meade County Commissioners near Sturgis, South Dakota, have denied a request from the Rosebud Sioux tribe to allow a fire pit on their land near Bear Butte for religious ceremonies. The landmass near Sturgis is sacred to American Indians. Commissioners say they can exempt the fire pit from an ordinance that bans open fires in July and August because of the high fire danger in the area. They did urge the tribe to have fire officials look at the site to see if it's safe, so the board could consider restructuring the ordinance they have. Relatives of a missing Crow agency family are raising money to offer a reward for information leading to their whereabouts. Teddy Littlelight, 30, his wife Juliet, Tonita Littlelight, 28, and their 3-month-old son Wyatt were last seen during December of 2008. The reward fund established at Wells Fargo Bank in Billings, Montana, contains about $1,200 gathered from family members. Mika Morning, Juliet's cousin, said several fundraisers are planned this month, including a May 17th fishing derby at Fort Smith and a basketball tournament from May 18th through the 23rd at Crow Agency, Montana. Morning says family members will also be donating a portion of their paychecks each month to the fund. The Littlelight family was last seen on December 23rd when Teddy Littlelight dropped his son Teddy Jr. at his mother's house in Crow Agency. They were reported missing on January 3rd when Juliet failed to attend her grandmother's funeral. Their pickup truck was found on January 5th near Fort Smith. An aerial search of the area 5 days later turned up nothing. A group of descendants of the legendary Apache leader Geronimo have filed a motion to intervene in a lawsuit brought by another descendant who wants his remains moved from Oklahoma to New Mexico. An attorney for the Fort Sill Apache tribe of Oklahoma, Philip Thompson, said the Fort Sill Apache and 18 members of Laureate Geronimo's family filed motions May 5th to intervene in the case. Harlan Geronimo of Mescalero filed a lawsuit in February seeking to move Geronimo's remains from Fort Sill to southwestern New Mexico Gila Wilderness. Both Lariat Geronimo and Harlan Geronimo say they are great-grandsons of Geronimo, who passed away of pneumonia on February 17, 1909, as a prisoner of war in Oklahoma. He was buried there at Fort Sill. Harlan Geronimo filed his lawsuit in Washington, D.C. on the 100th anniversary of Geronimo's death against the federal government, Yale University, and a powerful secret society at the Ivy League school. Geronimo descendants believe members of the secretive group Skull and Bones took some of the remains in 1918 from a Fort Sill burial plot to keep in its New Haven clubhouse. Harlan Geronimo wants those remains and any held by the federal government turned over to the family so they can be reburied near the Indian leader's birthplace in the Gila Wilderness. Water is beginning to flow into a new Southwest Colorado reserve that will benefit 3 tribes and towns in Colorado and New Mexico. Pumps began filling the 120,000-acre-foot lake Nighthorse earlier this week. The reservoir will supply the Ute Mountain Ute, Southern Ute and Navajo tribes in the towns of Durango, Colorado, and Farmington, New Mexico. The Federal Bureau of Reclamation estimates it will take 18 months to 3 years to fill the reservoir. The reservoir will be off limits to the public until it's full. A 4-lane, 600-foot boat ramp is also under construction at the site. Archaeologists surveying flood damage at the Knife River Indian Village's National Historic Site found some ancient history recently. The remains of an ancient hearth fire were uncovered at the site near Stanton, North Dakota. Superintendent Brian McCutcheon said the archaeologists gathered samples to try to determine the age of the site. The historic site preserves villages occupied by the Mandan, Hadasta, and Arikara Indians at least 200 years ago. McCutcheon said another new find is a circular trench from a protective fence built by the ancient villagers. Many of those villagers were killed in the 1830s by a smallpox epidemic. The Knife River flooding this spring destroyed stretches of the park trail and cut huge chunks into the riverbank edges. Leaders from New Mexico's 22 tribes, nations, and pueblos met with Governor Richardson this week for the first of what will become an annual summit to promote cooperation between state and tribal governments. The State Tribal Collaboration Act, passed during this year's legislative session, mandates an annual summit and requires all state agencies to appoint at least one liaison who will work with tribal governments. Richardson and State Indian Affairs Secretary Alvin Warren said the summit, held at the Acoma Pueblo's Sky City Hotel Casino, was a success. The summit focused on infrastructure, economic development, education, and healthcare. Leaders agreed to find ways to enhance the state's tribal infrastructure fund, boost economic development in tribal communities, and increase student retention and success. And that is the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to thank our underwriters for helping us with this broadcast and you for joining with us again. Come back soon again. Thank you.